Hi, welcome to Watcher DM. I'm Gabriel. Today, I'm continuing my series of explorations on different world building tools as I find them in my different role playing game products. Recently, I just finished up the Cairn Second Edition Warden's Guide, which I think had a really great, robust set of very interesting tables and tools, and comes from the same lineage as this game. Today, we're going to be diving into Mythic Bastionland, Before Into the Odd by Chris McDowell. And I've played a good amount of Mythic Bastionland, I think. I very much look forward to playing more of it. I think it's a fantastic game. But one of the things that I found when doing my Mythic Bastionland game and play was that the experience of creating the realm and prep was just as fun, really just as engaging as the actual at the table play. It's got really great procedures for getting you started and kind of getting the canvas dirty, as it were, which I think is an invitation in this game to explore what some of these prompts mean. And it leans heavily on the idea of spark tables to provide those little bursts of inspiration that you can take and run in any direction you want. So we're going to start by just reading some of we're going to go through each of these steps here. Basically, we're going to create a realm, and this will be the creating of a realm in kind of the larger sense. So we'll be actually going through all 144 hexes of creation. And then we'll talk a little bit about sites and how to represent that in the game. And then we'll go through each of these kind of spark tables, and we'll use those to apply to this realm that we're creating. Same thing with civilization. Same thing with people. We'll talk a little bit about combat and how it works in the game here. And then finally, we'll do a quick kind of exploration of the spark tables. We may actually we will have covered some of the spark tables during these other creation processes, but I'll try and save as much of it for the spark tables at the end as I can. All right, without any further ado, let's dive right in. So I'm going to go here, and just to clarify, there are a bunch of rules before creating the realm. I say a bunch. There's not a ton of rules in this game. It's pretty rules light, but we're going to start off in creating the realm. And the first thing it tells you is to break the rules. So the procedures here are designed to get you going, and it wants you to make the determination when appropriate to just throw these recommendations aside and go buck naked into the wild, as it were. And yeah, I also encourage you to do this. I think it's especially good with this game. And so yeah, we will not be doing that in this case because the intention here is to show you how the tool works as designed. But when you're making your own thing, break these rules. I think this is good. Bend them, break them, have fun. The hex map, as it's defined here, is a 12 by 12 grid of hexes, and I'm going to show you my setup. So this will be the setup that we'll be using for doing this and in implementation here in a moment. But basically what I've done is I've set up my tablet here with a kind of PDF that I've extracted into Affinity Publisher. I'm going to be using, I think, the photo persona so I can easily move these little guys around and drop them and reproduce them throughout the map. And so I'll be using this visually to create the thing, and that's what this is based on. So the document here is telling us this is a 12 by 12. You do not have to go with a 12 by 12. You can go with a 6 by 6 or a 4 by 4. It does not matter. There is probably a lower bound to how many hexes you want. You can also carve up some of the hexes by adding oceans and blocking off sections of the world so you don't have to deal with all 144 hexes. And we may do some of that today, because I think that's an appropriate thing to do. It's not often that you are completely landlocked. The important characteristic here, though, is that they do talk about how distances work in the game. And I like that they're very abstract, but very practical. They are called a hex league, which I love that it's not even spelled as an X. It's English. Commonly called a hex. These distances represent a loose factor of the area a hill fort can overlook. So if you were on a hill fort in that hex, you could overlook the whole area from it. The area that guards can patrol in a day. So if you have guards patrolling, they can only patrol one hex per day. I really like how conceptually that kind of locks how thin you can spread. It's like a dominion rule kind of thing. You can really control your domain growth through that. And then a return hike to a neighboring hex gets you home before dark. So this is that the travel procedures in this game is the morning, the afternoon, and then you have the night, or like the morning, the evening, and the night. And there are the 3 phases of the day. And so this works really well for establishing this 2 hex per day kind of travel with 1 hex of rest, or like 1 phase of rest. Or you can push through the night and make 3 hexes of travel a day. I think there's also a pushing your mount rule that lets you travel farther, but at a risk. So yeah, really cool way to bundle the features in. Now it says here wilderness. Most hexes are wilderness with a variety of terrain types. The spark tables on page 22 can help with this. And as a general guide, we want to create clusters of D12 hexes of the same terrain type. Some hexes have a barrier on 1 or more of their edges, typically a sudden altitude change or impassable feature. These cannot normally be traveled through. For a typical realm, place a number of barriers equal to 1/6 of your total hexes. So in the 12 by 12 version, we have 144 hexes. We would want about 24 barriers. Now, every time I've made a realm, I have used too few barriers. So it is one of the things that we're going to look to use. We're going to try and follow this guidance exactly today and see where we end up. Most realms have a navigable river passing through and a few large lakes spanning whole or multiple hexes. I think this is really interesting. One of the things that I know I have failed before, but in fantasy fiction, it usually does not take into account that most cities are by rivers or bodies of water. It's just so ridiculously common that I think in the real world, we take it for granted that you probably live much closer to a reasonable body of water than you even know in some cases, or that the water infrastructure that supports where you live is a vast project that's doing a lot of work. All right. Now we'll talk about holdings a little bit. So it says here to place 4 holdings at a good distance apart, typically castles, walled towns, fortresses, or towers held by knights or influential vassals. Most of the realm lives within these walls or the surrounding hex. So we'll place those on this map thing. And when we get to the part where we're fleshing those out, we'll be using the civilization tables. So that's how it's going to work. Creating the realm is going to be populating these hexes with kind of the placeholders for these things. And then we'll go into each of these subsections to fill out the details. Designate 1 holding as the seat of power. This is the holding of the ruler or of the whole realm, commonly a knight. And then it says here to place the myth hexes, which is to place 6 hexes of myths in remote places. So we want to have them be out not close to the different holdings. That's a rule we can break, but I think we will try. Also, because of the way that this is designed, you can pretty easily just roll 2d12 and get a coordinate on this graph, which is one of the reasons I really like using this. And the hexes are clearly affected by the presence of their myth. So those hexes will be dominated by the presence of their myth. Landmarks. So some wilderness hexes contain a landmark. These are discovered when travelers roll 4 to 6 on the wilderness roll. A typical realm has 3 or 4 of each type of landmark. So for each of the landmarks, we'll be going through and placing about 4 of them. Maybe 3. We'll start with 3 and see if we need a 4th one for each type. Maybe that's probably how we'll do it. And we will mark them with an initial or an icon. So we'll be using the icon. Even characters who know a landmark's location must make a wilderness roll to check for omens as they travel there. So even if you're intentionally going to visit a landmark because you know it is there, you still roll that travel check, the exploration check. The course of the game may create new landmarks or remove or alter existing ones. This is a really interesting feature of the game, and I think everybody should keep in mind how, like, oh, we burned that place down. That dwelling doesn't exist anymore. Or a giant came through and destroyed that sanctum. Like that seer is dead. That could be a really interesting stuff and can help you have a more living world. So we're going to go through the different 6, I think it's 6 types. Yeah, it's 6 types. So you got dwellings, which are humble homes amid the wilds. You've got sanctums. This is where the seers live. So you'll be rolling on a knight. Like you'll roll a knight and pull the seer from that knight's page to discover which seer. Monuments are sites of inspiration. These are a place that the PCs can restore spirit, which is very important. But they're also really great places to do some role playing, some world building, some problem solving. And yeah, I love my monuments. Hazards are, it says nature fights every step, devise a solution, push through, lose d6 on virtue, usually vig, or go back the way you came. So this is like kind of a soft barrier. And then we've got curses, blights in the land that throw you off course. If you travel in the next phase, it counts as a traveling blind. I think these are interesting. They're a little hard to implement, and we'll get into why, but there's some support for this. And then ruins, remnants of the past echo the future. These hint at a random myth not currently active in the realm, though it may return. One of the things I like about this is that by including this, it has said you actually don't need 6 myths. You need 10 or 9 or however many ruins you're putting, right? And those ruins should be pointing to a myth that is not currently in the realm, but hints at its future arrival. And I really love that. And so we're going to use that. So we're actually going to be rolling up 10 myths. When we place our ruins, we'll associate those as well. And then adding details, it says spark tables on page 22 can add detail to significant locations and people in the realm. We'll be doing a bunch of that. And then distant realms. Realms are usually bordered by water, mountains, or wasteland, though claims are often disputed. Traveling to a distant realm normally sees you arrive in the next season. So it takes a season to move from one realm to another, which is something I definitely want to try sometime, is having like real traveling knights who are traveling across realms and have to get to a faraway realm. Their quest is to go to a faraway realm. And on the way, they have to contend with the myths and the realms on the way, which I just think it sounds like a really fun campaign. So we're going to try that. But first, today, most importantly, yeah, be right back. Okay, so here we go. First, we're going to start by picking what type of hex it is that we're like, which type of terrain we're going to be laying down first. And we have rolled a 2, which is heath, and we're going to get 7 hexes worth of heath. And so we're going to grab this and we're just going to pull these out here. So I've got my 7 pieces of heath, right? Is that right? Yeah. And then what we're going to do is we're going to clear this. Actually, we're just going to re-roll it here. And this is going to be our starting point. So we're going to say it starts at 1, 7, right? 1, 7. And so we'll grab this guy and we'll move him up to 1, 7. And then we'll just go ahead and attach some of these directly. So we'll have that coming in from the side here. And we'll do one of these. And this can go up here. Perfect. So we've got our nice little patch of heath up here. Easy peasy. And I think we can even see, yeah, so we've got all our heath. That's great. Perfect. All right. And then, yeah, let's go for the next type. So left will be type. All right. So we got type as left. So that's 9. We got the bog. And then it looks like we're going to have 10 of them. So we're going to pull out 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. And then we're going to roll again to see where we start. And it says we start at 10, 8. So we go over here to 10, we go down here to 8, which is going to be, yeah, this one here. We'll put this here, and then we'll just try and line these up. Get over this one. Let's get these all lined up here. Maybe we'll put a couple above it. I think that's fine. Yeah. So now we got a nice little bog over here. And then we will roll again. And this is 4, 8. So we got some peaks. And we have 8 of them. Oops. Bring this out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And these will start at 3 and 6. So 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. So we'll put this here. And then I think we're just going to go ahead, and I like when mountain ranges just go in a line. I feel like a good kind of range of mountains makes for a good barrier surface. We can get a little thickness here, so if we want to have something up in the mountains, we have a nice little chunk of mountains there. All right, and let's go for the next one. So we got 1 and 6. That is 1. So that's 6 hexes of marshes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we roll again. And we start at 2 and 9. So we're at 2 and 9. Perfect. It's right here. I feel like this actually needs to go. There we go. Okay. Yeah, let's put it right up against the heath here, just so we're filling in. So this is something I like to do when I'm doing this, is just to try and kind of fill the blocks in so that there's interesting kind of break lines here. And we go again, 3 and 9. So we get some crags, and there's 9 of them, 9 whole crags. Wow. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And they will start on 8 and 5. So we got 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we get this here. And I think kind of similar story to the mountains. I kind of like it when crags are in kind of a line, and I think this creates kind of a natural valley, right? So let's make that there. Great. And let's roll again. 4, 3. So some more peaks. We get 3 more peaks out here. Oops. 3 more peaks out here. And these are going to be placed at 5 and 12. So down here at the bottom, which literally is where this ended up. And I think, yeah, we'll just make this, in fact, we'll just line this up as the other side of this crag line here, which I really like. And we get 9 and 11. So we got more bog. We get 11 more bog, which is insane. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right. Where are these getting landed? They're starting at 1, 3. So I think we got more bog up here. So we'll start here. Boop. And with 11 bog up here, I think we're probably going to be filling in most of this corner with this bog. Bog here. Perfect. Yeah, I guess maybe up here. Okay. So we got some bog. All right, let's go again. And we got 5, 3. So this is forest. We only get 4 hexes worth of forest, or 3 hexes worth of forest. And we will place those at 4, 11. So that puts us down here, which is right next to this mountain here. Yeah, I can see that kind of being in the shade of this mountain. There's a little forest. Let's do the next one. So 3, 12. I think I'm going to invert this one. So we got a lot of crags. We got a lot of stuff going on. Kind of want some plains. So we're just going to put some plains out here. But it's only 3 plains because of the way that I rolled this. So that's fine. And it starts at 9 and 4, which is, I think, right here. So we can just place this here. And we'll have this be kind of the mouth of this, what I'm imagining is a valley. If we roll some valley, we're going to get some good valleys in here. And yeah, so it's another 12 marshes, or it's another 1 plains. I think we're going to go with another 1 plains. I feel like we've got a lot of wetlands going on. I don't want to drown everybody in wetlands. I'm just going to place it with that other one. And 2, 7. Again, I think I'd really rather have hills here. So we're going to go for 2 hills. And we're just going to place them. Oh, you know what? We're going to roll where to place them. So 9, 9 puts us at 9 and 9. Okay, so this will be around here. I think we can just put these on the other side of these crags here, maybe. Seems good. This. There we go. All right. And let's roll again. Another 112. Man, they really want this to be a marshland. Okay, let's do it. We got 12 marshes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, let's try this again. We're doing it. We're placing them. So 8 and 10 puts us down here. I think here, I guess, probably. So we'll just put these here. And yeah, I guess it'll be a bog kind of running up against a marsh. I don't know how practical that is, but yeah, fine. Also, I guess a wetland at the foot of some mountains is an interesting place. Come on. Come on. Guess not. There we go. All right. So yeah, we got a bunch of marshes around a bunch of things there. All right. Man, 1 and 10. I really want a lake, though. I want one lake at least. Holy smokes. Yeah, we're going to put this here. Absolutely. We're just placing it. 5 and 2. I would like to have more forests. So we're going to put some more forests out. And we'll find out where. 3 and 6. So 3 and 6 would be in this mountain, but I think we can place it near this mountain. I think that sounds pretty reasonable. All right, 9 and 10, we got more bog, or we get 9 lakes. I want more lakes. I think lakes is the right thing here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, now let's see where we're putting these lakes. There we go. 2 and 4. So that kind of would be up here. And so, yeah, we could absolutely put just a long body of lakes that goes through here and cuts off this northern bog, or this, yeah, it's a bog up there, I think, from the rest of the kind of the rest of the realm, right? That's pretty cool. All right. We got 5, 10, some more forest. So yeah, 10 forest. I love it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we're replacing it. So 3, 8, I think is pretty busy. We're pretty busy over here. 8, 3 is pretty good, actually. I think maybe if we start here with this forest, I was hoping this would be a valley, but I could very much see it being just like a forest in between these. Yeah, actually, that's sick. That looks really sick. I have a nice little forest here between these crags and these mountains. All right, let's go again. 6 and 12. Oh, when we get our valley, that's so funny. All right, so it was 12 valleys. I think we should go with the plains instead, though, right? 6 plains on 10-2, I think. Yeah, that's what we're doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to place all these up in this area here where the other plains are kind of hanging out. So you can see it's fun to try and imagine where some of this stuff is going to go. None of this stuff really needs to be super well structured or super well defined. You can always fill in some gaps however you want. I could definitely see myself maybe peeling some of this lake out and putting it somewhere else, or adding a little bit more complexity to how this bog is set up. 10, 11. Oh, finally we got some glade. All right, cool. Let's drop some glades in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Where should we place them here? 6 and 5. So 6 and 5 is here. Just too occupado. But that's okay. I think we can place these out here. I think this is what we're going to do. We're going to place these glades. So you can just run up against the end of, oh, there was something already in place. Okay, just go to nearby there and start. And you can see how just filling these in, you end up, I think, a pretty interesting relationship and kind of interplay. Oh, did I fail to place this? Must have failed to place that. My bad. My bad. All right, so we got a nice little glade, marsh, heath, up into a forest and some lakes. That's pretty good. All right, only a few left here, I think. So we're at 5, 2, 5. So 5 heath. I think we'll pull these out. 2, 3, 5, and let's try it. Let's see if we get a good place for them. 9, 10. So that's 9 and 10. So these would actually could go down here, I think. And actually, I think we are going to move this over here, and we're just going to put a little bit of heath up in here just so it's a little more interesting and diverse. And we'll grab this one too and bring it over here, and we'll put this heath up here. So now we kind of have an interesting shape going on, right? And this is something I should be doing as I'm going here, is going, oh, can I swap this with this maybe and kind of get this glade to have a little bit of an interesting kind of C shape? Can we maybe flip these? Yeah, we'll get there. Another 2, 5. So I think that's even more heath. I think we'll drop these, and then I think we're probably going to be done. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the rest of the spaces with ocean. We're just going to say those are ocean. So we'll see what we get here. 7, 9, full, 9, 7, right about here. That seems about right. So we'll place these 5 up here. This. And then, so the one downside to doing it this way is you don't really have a good, strong way of doing oceans, or of representing oceans. And so we're not going to represent the oceans on this map, but I think the idea is, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 left. Let's roll one last thing to drop on that upper section there. Some plains or some glades. Yeah, I think we'll go with some glades. I feel like we have, this place seems pretty wild. It seems like it's got a lot of things going on. And plains is just like this really tiny strip up here. And I want that perceived normalcy to be the rarity, I think. Okay, cool. So you can see how this works here. We've got our little, and we're going to save this as a realm test, whatever. And then what's the next step? So we got our wilderness. We need to do barriers, and I'm going to do barriers a little bit later. And then we also need a river. So we need navigable rivers. Maybe we should do those now. Let's switch over to personas here, and we're going to go ahead and draw using the pen tool. And I'm going to drop a CMYK, and we'll just go ahead and add a new layer, although probably not necessary. And we're just going to start up here, and we're going to start going like this and like this and down here like that. And the stroke of these actually is what's going to be that. And the fill is going to be blank. And the stroke size is going to be bigger. And then also, I want to put this behind everything. I don't know if that's how this is going to work. We're going to try. Because, yeah, I think the way I want to do this. Oh my gosh, there's so many X's. Okay, here we go. So this kind of goes behind everything. But then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take everything above it. Go ahead. Everything above it. And I'm just going to make it all. Can I just group it? I guess I probably can. I'm just going to group it so I can work within it. We'll see if that actually, maybe that's not the best idea. Actually, I don't want to do that. We're not going to group it. But I am going to change all of them to multiply. And that'll allow me to have, kind of the river flowing through here. And that can be fine for now, I think. And I think it's a similar story with the red. If we were to do some straight lines for barriers, we're gonna deal with barriers later because I want to place those kind of interestingly. Let's do the holdings. So we need 4 holdings and we need to place them in appropriate places. And so we're going to start by just rolling. We're going to see if we can get an interesting spot for a holding. 1, 2 is a pretty interesting spot for a holding. And then we'll just roll a d4 to see which holding we get. So we get the 4th holding. So it'll be this tower. That'll go up here in 1, 2. And this one will not be a multiply. This will be a normal. Although that's interesting because it doesn't really. That is interesting. I'll have to muck around with that a little bit, see if I can get that to look better. But yeah, it's up there. It's 1, 2. That's fine. And then we'll go again. We can't do 4 again, so we'll mod it. But this goes on 10, 8, which will be here, I think. And that means this will be the castle. Be like right here. I'm going to shrink it down a little bit so that it fits inside this place here. And then we will also make this not multiply so that it's just on there. And I'll have to, again, modify it to work better. And then, so 12, 6 is, I think, in the water. And it's probably a little too close to this. So why don't we go with 6, 12? And I think 6, 12 is here, maybe. Oh, and I don't even have. Yeah, interesting. Also in the water, but we can put something there. And we'll make that the town. This can be down here. That's actually a really good place for the town. We'll just get it shaped up there. And this can be normal. And then the last one that we're going to place, so we don't need to know which one it is. It is on a 9, 8. And that's going to be the fortress. And so 9, 8. See here. So the fortress is pretty close to the castle, which I kind of like that. I think that works fine. And we're just going to try and shrink it down a little bit and make it normal. And so now we have our holdings placed, which is great. All right. So we have done the holdings and most of our terrain. At this point, this video has gone on way longer than I anticipated. So I'm going to get this wrapped up. On our next one, we're going to place our landmarks. So these will be our interesting bits that the PCs can find from this red list of options here. We'll place those around the map, and then we'll go into, actually, maybe we'll do the hex. We'll do the myth hexes first. We'll do the myths first. So we'll place those in the next one, and we'll talk a little bit about what that looks like and add those to this. and then we'll do the landmarks, and then we'll do breaking out these landmarks into subsequent bits of detail. So if you like these videos, I hope you'll hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of them, I hope you'll subscribe. And if you want to be notified when new videos come out, you should hit the bell icon. You can get early access to these videos and all of my other content if you go to patreon.com/watcherdm, where you can support the likes of myself, my best friend and author Austin Holm, who is amazing and always is producing incredible stuff. Or you can go just play any of our games. We recently released Blood Prairie, which is super exciting. We're very proud of it. It's over 200 pages of Weird West like it's not being done anywhere else in the Canadian prairie, with the sun blotted out by an angel who just wants everything to be in darkness in the prairie. Yeah, it's great. You should go check it out. It's got a really interesting spell and summoning system. Otherwise, I hope I will see you around. Thanks for chilling. If you got all the way to the end here, drop me a little castle emoji in the comments to let me know. I appreciate it. I like seeing these. Thanks.